Take two. I mean, this is the second. I had cats getting down on each other, and and one of them's sick, so I had to protect him from the other kid who happens to be the yellow kid, and he's he loves to take other people's food, especially the sick guy who can't really defend himself. So anyway, there will be a video out there that started where starting a new fast, and this is the next section of it. Thankfully for you, it started over again. It gives you almost a break, like an intermission. So I voted today, and I guess on next Saturday, my wife will vote, and I'll go with her and stuff. And I live in a pretty small town in the state of Iowa, right on the Mississippi River, so on the eastern side of Iowa. And town's like I don't know, 28,000 people, so not a huge place or anything by any means. And it just happens to be the county seat. You know, the town I live in is the happens to also be the county seat, so made it easy. I voted. Bingo bango. I think everybody ought to have to serve in the military for at least 2 years in America, sort of like they do in other countries like Israel and stuff. Only 17% of the U.S. military, whether it's whatever branch it is, only 17% of those people would ever see combat. Meaning that there's so many jobs in the military that are designed to support those in combat. The people that from manufacturers of weapons and ammunition to doctors, nurses, tax people, accountants, supply people, cooks and stuff like that. And there's a zillion different things that happen in the military that aren't in a situation where they'll ever be in direct combat or anything like that. So I think it ought to be a requirement. And the other thing is there's a ton of people, and older folks will know exactly what I'm talking about, that have this thing, and I was just reminded about it today, was called failure to launch. It's a psychological thing where that a bunch of young people, a pretty good size, bigger than I thought anyway, percentage of young people never take that natural next step to become an adult from being a kid. And, I mean, I never heard of it because in my family, once you reached a certain age, you pretty much got your plate broken. And that's not even a joke. I don't know if it's symbolic or what, but my mom and dad, or my dad more, broke my plate, the plate that I used every night at supper, in front of my face. And that was kind of like you need to move out time, like do something. And it was kind of a silly thing because I was going in the military. When I was 17 and still in high school, I went to basic training after my junior year. And then after my senior year, I went to my AIT. So it was a delayed entry program. So I really started in the military before I graduated high school. And then once I graduated high school, I went, I was gone. And so there's a ton of kids, though, that I've been hearing about lately that are in their 22, 26, and older even, that want to still live in mom and dad's basement or whatever. And they're playing video games. They're not getting a job. They're not getting an education. Nothing. They intend to stay a kid for the rest of their life. Wouldn't that be neat? And I think, it's kind of like the bird that never gets kicked out of the nest. I mean, unless the parent bird kicks the birdie out of the nest, a lot of them don't even try, I guess. Maybe that sounds simplistic, but maybe that's something that these parents that I know and that I've met and I've talked to or whatever, I've heard complain about this. Maybe you got to remember to kick the bird out of the nest. I've got a really good friend of mine who had difficulties with two children that are out of their 20s now, and they're still to this day twins are experiencing failure to launch, partly because they were allowed to for a long time, I think. And I don't know what, it's the sink or swim time. I mean, the way I learned how to swim was somebody threw me in the water, and it was sort of like, I don't want to go out, but now I'm going, And sometimes I think maybe you got to kick somebody out of the nest at a certain age. The military is a great way to start that. because, it starts the basic soft skill stuff. And soft skills are things like get up out of bed in the morning in time to go to work, brush your teeth, comb your hair, those things. And why can't so many people do it on their own? I don't know. But then again, why are some people like me overweight? It's just natural. It's since I was a baby, I wanted to eat. I was a great eater, and I wasn't as good an exerciser as I should have been. No, when I was a kid, I was incredibly active, and when I was in the military, I was incredibly active. But as a natural thing, not incredibly active. When I'm working, before I had MS, I was incredibly active, but I still managed to retain more weight than a lot of people do for whatever reason. But some people are naturally a certain way, and it's probably chemical. But some people are naturally depressed. Some people are naturally anxious. And apparently some people have this hiccup in their progression where that they just fail to launch from being a child to being an adult. And I think maybe there's been some rituals over time that made that happen that maybe aren't as big of a thing anymore. Part of it is that there's more helicopter parents than there used to be. And they coddle kids. And the kid gets to this point where they're in their 20s or whatever, and they never had to do anything. And so once something becomes a really big habit like that, it gets tougher and tougher and tougher than to somehow start it. But word to parents and people that know parents or whatever. I don't have any kids, thank the Lord. But even if you're the one that made it out of the nest because you joined the military or whatever, remember, if your kids don't do the same thing you did, they're having to figure out a whole nother way to do it, and you might have to help, by, either showing them the boot or paying for them to go to college, which my parents would have never done that, or encouraging the military, and then maybe giving an ultimatum. Do one of those, or you need to go figure out how to earn your way, or you're going to be homeless. And there's a lot of homeless people now, so help them start that if they have to. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at somebody who's in their 30s and they still want to live in mom's basement. And that's just nutty. Okay, so I just started my new fast, so I'll keep you guys aware, and I'm really sorry about that, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Have a great day. Vote.